So outside of those like frustration of like logistic side and the flavor side, even everything works perfectly. The coffee you taste at the origin and coffee that arrives to Canada tastes different because there's a time between. Is there any like certain way you predict the flavor changes?
Depends on what country you're working in. Ethiopia is a little bit easier, I find, because the coffees have a particular flavor when they're fresh, and they generally have a long period of time to open up. So once you know what that flavor tastes like, that's a trick. At origin, if it's tasting spectacular, like super, like something you want to drink that afternoon, it's probably not a coffee you want to buy unless you're taking it home with you, because 4 months it might not taste like that.
Yeah. What kind of protocol do you have for like green purchase if it's not a sacred?
I mean, buy good coffees. That's a trick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always as easy to just pick the good ones, but kind of sometimes it is. Less is more sometimes, so there's good coffee at the table, you should buy it. Depends on what you're trying to do. Like when I start a new origin, what do your customers want? Do they want blenders? Do they want super high scoring wash coffees? Do they want fermentation experiments? Like have a very clear idea of what you're trying to achieve with your program. And then partner with people on the ground. Find a good a lab that you want to work with and someone who's willing to work with you over time and respond to feedback also, because not everything's perfect. But yeah, it comes with experience and practice.
I think the green imported version is easier to monitoring how the coffee consumption trend is changing. In your head, how is the coffee consumption trend is been changing?
The easy one to say is processing, especially in Colombia. There's been tons of experimental stuff happening in that country in the last year.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, which is really cool to see. But yeah, just the growth overall, people drinking specialty coffee. When I was roasting in the 90s, I would say, oh, this coffee's from Sumatra. No one knew what Sumatra was.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a Kenyan double A.
Yeah.
You know, so that is a Kenyan pea berry, that was exotic, right? We had no information. So getting to know, more specifics about the coffee. The farm was the first thing, the region, and then onto varietals, and then now it's with processing and how those affect flavor. That's what I've seen most change.
What kind of coffee do you often drink, or what's your kind of favorite flavors?
For me, it's changed a lot too, because I used to really just enjoy washed coffees, and so whatever was washed was what I preferred to drink. But I mean, that my palate's changed a lot. I'm really open to funky, interesting coffees. And to me, it's more about like the people they're producing, what they're trying to achieve with it, and just trying different things. But I don't drink the same thing over and over. I like a variety. So right now, I mean, all summer we've been doing Kenyan coffees like crazy. It's been a good season. It's been so hot in Calgary here.
Yeah.
So we've been drinking tons of Kenyans, but I'm really excited now we have some Ethiopians finally in. So I try and drink what's in season, I guess.
Yeah.
A wide range of stuff. I guess I could talk about my favorite flavors maybe in coffee. For me, I really love citrus fruits. That's my favorite type of fruit. So for me, citrus is always the number one thing that I like. And I like to drink coffee first thing in the morning. I'm not sometimes, but not very often, in my evening coffee drinker. So for me, I like those bright. My favorite profile overall would be like the bright tea, citrus, juicy, complex coffees. Lots of brightness, lots of acidity. That's probably my preferred profile. If I had to pick one the rest of my life to drink, that's what I would choose.
Is your preference on the coffee flavor is like kind of similar to the cocktail or wine, cider, the other beverage? Are those like kind of similar, or?
I like acidity-driven, lighter. Because to me, like wine is juice, so it should taste juicy. And coffee is is a fruit, right? So it should have fruit characteristics to me, to my palate. It should be juice, like fruit-based with other things on top of it. Because scotch, for example, I'm not a huge aficionado of scotch. It just overwhelms my palate.
It's more like you need to. I think scotch is more similar to like espresso tasting. Yeah, because you need to get used to that level of strength.
Yeah.
And then once you get used to it, and then you can find the flavors, the differences, and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like espresso too. It overwhelms your palate, especially most people drink pour espresso when they first start drinking it. Yeah, but we're really well prepared espresso. If you start with like really fancy scotch, you probably like it. So you can start with the crappy stuff.
Yeah. And then you just spend your money too.
Yeah, good time. But yeah, I think subconsciously, I obviously have things that it's a hard question sometimes because human beings, we do things without thinking. So, I guess that's what I would reach for first. It's light, juicy, bright.
And you drink filtered brew coffee more than espresso, you said?
I used to be a huge espresso freak.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. When I first started as a barista, the cafe I worked at was all French press coffee, which is unique at the time. But espresso is a great thing, but it's a short experience. Sometimes you like to sit and read a book. I still love espresso, but I don't really as much as I used to.
Yeah, espresso is definitely a unique beverage, and I feel like only small amount of people, even in the coffee industry, likes espresso over filter. Do you normally ship out green coffee sample to roasters or roasted coffee samples to roasters?
When I first started, it was only green. And then I met someone on the trail one time, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, we got this roaster called a Kawa, and so now we're doing a lot of roasted samples for people." And I think I'd seen the Tim Wendelbo endorsement about a Kawa since 2017, maybe. So then I was like, okay, well, I should get a Kawa. So I bought one, and then I started offering to do roasted samples for people, and then it's been growing constantly. And we're probably 50-50 now, green and roasted.
Oh, really?
If not 60-40 roasted to green. A lot of roasters are really busy, and we're still working with their small family operations or mom and pop style shops, so they're wearing a lot of hats. A lot of them just don't have time to sample roast, which I totally get. And a lot of them are trusting. They're very trusting of our profiles, and they know we roast the coffees a lot. So whatever way we think is going to taste the best, they're happy to support that. Let us do it. So yeah, we do a ton of roasted samples, which is cool.
So, as a roaster, it is always hard to make a relation between the sample roasting profile to the production roasting profile. I almost thinking those are two just separate, completely different process, and I'm not trying to implement what I did on sample to the roasting process. Many coffee roasters ask you about your sample roasting profile when they like your coffee.
Yeah, lots. We deal with a lot of people that are just starting out. Specialty's growing so much too. And so we deal with a ton of people that are just starting out, which is awesome. I love to have those conversations. But yeah, it's a challenge. So, Kawa's not the most, what's the word for it? It's not the most translatable to a drum roaster style machine. So it can be challenging, but it's all about learning how to taste and what's possible with your coffee and how does that translate.